In this video, I'm sharing how I escaped the music streaming ecosystem. You know, it used to be that we would download our music onto our iPod and listen to it for free. And at some point, these music streaming services came along and they started charging us for this. And I get it. The benefit is that we could listen to unlimited amounts of music and the ability to listen from any device so long as it has access to the internet. The consumer shells out the money every single month. So you have Spotify, Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, Microsoft 365, Google Cloud for storage, OneDrive for storage. All of these services require monthly subscriptions or annual subscriptions. So that's why I decided to replace all of these streaming services. And in this case, I've decided to replace the music streaming services. So this is your Amazon Music, your Spotify's, or your Apple Music. So let me share how I did it. And to start off, I'll mention that I did it with Jellyfin. And if you don't know, Jellyfin is an open source media system. So the first thing I did was install Jellyfin on one of my servers. Now I have a Dell server that I'm running Ubuntu on, and Jellyfin works with Ubuntu. So the first thing is to run the installation bash script. So after the Jellyfin service has been installed on my Ubuntu server, I have to enable it so that it starts up automatically on boot up, and I also have to start it if it hasn't already started automatically. Sometimes that requires a reboot. And that's pretty much it. Just like that, you've installed Jellyfin server, and Jellyfin runs on port 8096. You can access it locally using localhost port 8096, or you can access it from a different computer on your network by going to the IP address of that computer or the server name of that computer and entering the port number afterwards. So now that Jellyfin is up and running, you need a place to put your music, so you create that shared network drive or just a folder on the disk drive to store the music. And after you've stored the music, you head to Jellyfin to add the music library, and you point that music library to that music folder that you created. And after that's done, Jellyfin automatically picks up any music added to that folder, and it automatically becomes available. So anytime in the future you need to add more music, you simply add it to that network folder. For me, I authenticate to my server, my Ubuntu server, using SSH. In this case, what I plan to do is use Diffdesk to connect to my server and upload the music. And I'll do this by connecting to my server. My credentials are already stored, so I simply have to reconnect to my server using SSH, and then I drag and drop my music files. I prefer SSH because just having access to all directories in my Ubuntu server is just much easier. That's how I upload my music. And I used to have so much more music. The problem is that before cloud storage, you would just save your music on a laptop, and then when you got a new laptop, you would kind of lose it. Sometimes you would transfer it. If you didn't transfer it, then you'd lose it in your old laptop. And then when Spotify came along, I didn't even need those files anymore. I had Spotify. So somehow they were just abandoned at some point, and those hard drives eventually get tossed out. Now that I'm going back to a middle ground of doing things the old way in a modern twist, I don't have my files. So over time, I'll have to develop my music collection the way you used to have it back in the day, where we would have our discs set up. All right, and that's it. Now you have access to your music from any device on your network or outside your network. And I'll show you guys how to do that afterwards. Here are the different ways you can access your music. Now, I tend to access my music from my phone. So I'm usually running around the house. I'm in the garage wrenching, or I'm in the patio gardening, or I'm just inside of the house with the fams listening to baby music. I usually access my music using the Jellyfin app. So you can download and install it on your phone, whether it's an iPhone or an Android device. And this automatically gives you the ability to use your headphones and, you know, go on a bike ride and listen to music on your phone, or the gym and whatnot. What I like to do is connect to Alexa. And once I connect to Alexa using Bluetooth, I can play the music from my phone on Alexa, which is sort of scattered around the house. So the way I like to do it is that I'll connect to Alexa by saying, Alexa, connect to my phone.
Searching. Now connected to Pixel 7 Pro.
After I do that, then I can simply open up Jellyfin and play the song. And I can ask it to pause. Alexa, pause. Alexa, play.
Playing Bluetooth.
And then I can also ask it to skip. Alexa, skip. Alexa, pause. Alexa, Previous song.
Starting Bluetooth.
So this works if you're in the network, right? But if you leave the house, you need to access your music still. The first option is just to simply use your external IP. So as I mentioned, Jellyfin runs on port 8096. So what you would do is open up port 8096 on your router so that when you access your gateway, you append the port number and it automatically routes to your Ubuntu server. Which reminds me, you will have to open up port 8096 on your Ubuntu server as well in the firewall. Now, I don't like to be remembering my home IP address, so what I like to do is give it a subdomain. And in my case, I'm going to give it jellyfin.inspocinema.com, which is a domain that I already own. And it's just a quick and easy way to have domains without having to pay for them. I use Nginx to manage my websites. And in this case, what you'll need to do is have Nginx reverse proxy the traffic from the subdomain to the Jellyfin service running on port 8096. And to do this, the first thing you're going to want to do is create the Nginx site configuration file. And the basic configuration files just tells Nginx what port to forward port 80 traffic to, and in this case it's 8096, and some other basic information. In my case, I took it a step further and I configured HTTPS. And I did this using certbot, and what's nice about certbot is that you generate SSL certificates for free. You do have to renew them every 90 days, but other than that, it's a simple command to generate the SSL. When you run the command, your basic configuration file gets some changes automatically applied. And if everything checks out, then you simply need to enable it by creating the symbolic link. And after that, you reload Nginx, and you will be able to access all of your music using jellyfin.inspocinema.com, or in your case, any of the subdomains or domain names that you gave it. What's nice is that you no longer have to memorize the port number 8096. You can simply go to the subdomain name and have access to all of your music files. Yeah, so that's my setup, and to be honest, it works for me. And it worked for me because I usually listen to the same music, to be honest, for a prolonged period of time. It's only when a new song comes out that I decide I want to listen to that one and download it to my music. Now, I don't have access to unlimited music, and honestly, that's not bad. I don't need all of the music. I only need the music that I really like. And so that's what I do. I end up just downloading, adding all of the music that I really enjoy onto my music player, and I shuffle it. And I know that anything that's there I'm gonna like. I don't need a fancy algorithm because I already know I like it. So that's how I replaced the music streaming giant with my own personal self-hosted music service. Yeah, so let me know if you guys end up fighting back and self-hosting your own music. It is a little tough initially, but if you do this enough times with the movies and self-host your security system and self-host all these other things, they sort of all have the same process, and you can kind of apply it to multiple places, and you just end up having this massive home lab that you manage yourself, but it's so much more fulfilling and less expensive and cooler, to be honest. Other than that, I will see you guys on the next video.